Dealing with errors in event creation. In a previous video, I discussed how to create a point event. There are a number of user inputs required, and History in Motion does extensive error checking. In this video, I will discuss common errors and how to fix them. Many of the errors are common to other event types and to timelines as well. Let's begin by creating a new point event. I'm going to leave the title blank. I'm going to add some characters into the latitude and longitude. And I'm going to give the name of an icon file which doesn't exist. In the description, I'll type in first plain text. Now suppose I want some bold text, so I click on the B for bold words. Now let's add an image. I'm going to call it foo.jpg again. Doesn't exist. And let's add a link. I'm going to call it https foo.htm. History in Motion says he gave me something with a colon in it, but it's not HTTP or HTTPS. So I'm just going to get rid of that and save it. And as you can see here, History in Motion stuck in HTTP on its own. For start time, the calendar widget understands that there can't be non-numeric characters in a start date, so I'm typing in letters, but nothing shows up. Instead, I'll type in a number, but it's an invalid month. For the start time, I'll just type in text. For the end time, I'll give it the 33rd day of May. And I'll have a time that looks syntactically correct, but obviously doesn't make sense. So I'll click to save it, and I get a dialog box saying that I've got certain sections that have errors. So I can close that. Let's begin with the title section. Well, let's call it bogus event. History in Motion doesn't complain about the latitude and longitude because it gets that from Google Maps, which only considers the place mark. The icon file doesn't get a complaint either because History in Motion can't tell that that's an error until the event is actually created and the browser tries to display, or actually Google Maps tries to display that icon file. Similarly, there's no complaint about the description because these bad references to an image and to a website won't be understood to be bad until the event is created and we try and display this description. However, History in Motion did detect that there is no 48th month, so let's set that back to May. Because it found a bad start date, it didn't check the start time. And for the end date, let's also make that the 15th of May. And it didn't check the end time. So let's save it again. But we still have errors on the start and end time. Time is not valid, so let's make that 12 noon. And invalid time, so let's make that 12 noon again. All right, well now everything seems syntactically valid, so that should work. Well, I clicked on save, and I didn't get a confirmation that the event was created. I didn't get an error dialog box, and the event accordion is still there. So what's going on? This is a very common situation, and it comes from one cause only, and that is that the start time is not strictly before the end time. In fact, they're the same. May 15th, 1839 at noon, May 15th, 1839 at noon. So a way we can fix it is to make the end time later or the start time earlier, doesn't matter which. Well, that should take care of it now, right? Well, keep your eye over here on the place mark, because now we're going to create the event for the first time, and Google Maps is going to try and find that file foo.jpg and turn that into an icon. Well, there's our event confirmation creation, but the marker disappeared. Well, what's going on? An event can disappear because whenever the time slider here moves, History in Motion determines what events are current and therefore which are to be displayed. But that's not the problem here, because we know that the start and end times of the event we just created are the same as for the Wait for Steamboat in Ripley event. So there must be something else going on. And what's going on is that Google Maps couldn't find that event icon, and so nothing gets displayed. And unfortunately, there's no way to detect that error. You just have to know that's what's going on. So the way we can fix it is go to Event and click on Event. Choose the event that we want to edit. By the way, since we're editing an event now, we can see that the delete button is active. So I'm just going to take that icon file reference and get rid of it. And as I mentioned in the creation of a point event video, having a blank icon file field there means that Google Maps should simply use its own icon for the place mark. So let's save that. There's our event edited confirmation. And here's our place mark. So let's click on it. And we see we've got the title and the start and the end time. We've got our plain text. The bold words aren't bolded. Instead of the image that we want, we've got this little question mark. And we do have what appears to be a reference. So let's click on it. And of course, Safari can't find that server, can't open that page. Now, sometimes that would occur if the server was simply unavailable, but we know in this case that there really is no such website. So let's close that. Go back to Edit Event, choose Bogus Event. And when you choose an event to edit, by the way, it bounces for 3 seconds just to call your attention to it. And let's go to the description. If all I needed to do was to make a slight adjustment to the URL for either the image or for the website itself, I could do that right here for the website within the A, or in the source attribute for the image. But in both cases, they're simply bogus, so I'm going to get rid of the website reference, which goes to the angle bracket /A angle bracket, and the image I'll get rid of as well. Now, to bold the words, anything in bold, or for that matter italics or underline, has to be bracketed by, for the bold case, angle B close angle bracket and angle /B close angle bracket. So one way I can fix this is to simply delete that tag, cut out the text, click on B, position my cursor after it, paste in my words, click on the B again to get the angle /B close angle, and now I can save it. And when I click on the event, plain text and bold words. This covers most of the events you're likely to encounter in creating and editing events of all types and timelines as well. There are a few other specific errors in path and area events and timelines, and we'll cover those in their respective videos.